There's a famous quote from Mark Twain that is as follows: "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness." However, recently I've noticed that some travel content has started to embrace these negative views of the world and people rather than refute them. Content that once felt innately curious and showed the beauty and kindness of different peoples and cultures now feels made with the intention to show superiority or inferiority of different peoples and cultures.
Run, gypsy! Fora de Portugal! Go back to your country!
In this video, I want to take a deeper look at what's going on and maybe understand how we got here. First of all, politics is already associated with everything in our lives, to a certain extent. Think about it. Your job, the money you make and bring home to your family, the cost of things around you, your own health, your history, your relationship with people around you, society at large, and your country's relationship with other countries is heavily involved in politics. But what I've noticed, and maybe you've picked up on as well, is that politics has become a much bigger part of everyday media that you consume for different topics and things that you might not have previously thought would be super political. And where I really noticed this shift was with the large rise of alternative media and podcasts, especially like comedy podcasts and stuff as well, because these podcasts were hosting some major, really influential political figures across the world. And they would be hosted by people who their job is not to be a journalist. Their job is not to interrogate or ask these people tough questions. Their job is to entertain and make good content that gets a lot of views.
Burger King kind of sucks.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong.
The BK Lounge can hit.
I disagree completely.
You like Burger King over McDonald's?
That's your worst take, I think.
Absolutely.
That's a crazy take.
No, that was fine.
And you can understand why they would have these people on their shows, because they're going to garner a lot of attention. But at the same time, they may be able to not engage with certain ideologies or have the right tools to critique these influential political leaders. So it gives them a platform to just kind of speak more, be more humanized, be a little bit more likable for their charisma to shine through.
This guy is so genius. And then others would say, oh, he rambled. I don't ramble. If I saw the story, what you do is you weave things and you do it.
Typically, the people that host them have an audience of people that view the hosts, the people who own the shows, to be unbiased, to be not paid for, to be just interested or curious or just be asking questions. So it can kind of provide this atmosphere where politics can seep through and it's just more entertainment. But of course, that doesn't mean you're not going to pick up on what people are saying. But there is more than just the podcast scene, which has been politicized. I feel that other niches, even like gym content, self-improvement, stuff like business, stuff like dating, stuff like religious content, which I guess that one will always be tied to maybe certain ideas and political movements. But it seems that these are now all acting as one big funnel that can, if you're in that funnel, can carry you down to one common idea in theory. And this is that the West is dying, or it's at least threatened or heavily decaying, and it's doing so because of things like wokeism, things like progressivism, things like immigration. And if you're not careful, it kind of goes down to the final boss, which is that there's a white replacement or white genocide occurring that's being purposely, intentionally orchestrated by a certain group of people that had been historically oppressed, maybe in Nazi Germany. And this idea, this unifying theory, I think has heavily bled into or has merged with another group of content that is also associated with travel content.
All I ever wanted was $10 million cash quick. Yeah.
As defined online, passport bros are Western men who travel to other countries, often in Latin America or Southeast Asia, to date and find partners they perceive as more traditional, feminine, and family-oriented than women in their home countries. And they will create online content about their experiences, maybe as digital nomads, and finding love abroad, often due to increased purchasing power and perceived easier dating. And unfortunately, some of the biggest and honestly most entertaining travel vloggers have been exposed or shown to be people that are either passport bros or heavily associated with the passport bro / pickup artist / West is dead. Traditional values of women are destroyed. I need to find a wife in a different country, maybe leveraging my money or my whiteness that might be believed to be a valuable asset to these women. Some prime examples would be massive content creators like Bald and Bankrupt, and Kurt Kaz. So if you are sold on the belief that the West is dead or it's dying or decaying and it's being caused by things like progressivism / wokeism or feminism, and this is killing traditional values in society, or at least traditional values that you want from a relationship, and whether you yourself believe this or you know your audience or there is an audience that really believes this and wants to hear these things, and you know that there's that funnel concept that I talked about earlier, it's really no surprise if you as a person are swept up into this, or you're making content, or your content itself is swept up into this next thing, because it is a massive topic in society that's heavily political. In the year 2025, immigration is a massive topic and issue that is discussed in countries like the USA, the UK, Europe at large, and even some Asian countries, which I'll be focusing more on Japan in this section. Historically, it was not uncommon for immigrants or minority groups in different countries and places to get blamed for the problems of society, so I'm not too surprised if it's happening today. I also feel that many people in governments and politicians fail to address maybe the issues of society in a satisfying way, or they don't address things that are associated with immigration in a satisfying way. And there are whole movements or ideologies or platforms or content niches that are fully based around addressing and identifying the issues and talking about immigration. So where I've noticed the politicization of travel content regarding immigration, I've noticed it started with this kind of scammer expose kind of content, which on its face is really great, because the idea was to go around these cities where there's lots of tourist scams, where there's lots of people pickpocketing, and their goals were to expose these people so that you know their face, or to shame them so they don't do these things anymore, or to show the audience what kind of scams there are and how to avoid it.
What is it? Attenzione! Occhio a queste ragazze che sono ladri! Attenzione! Sono ladri!
Or sometimes they mess with the scammers where you feel like, thank you, it's good you get a taste of your own medicine, after you're like trying to ruin people's lives or take their money unethically. So that's a really easy thing to get behind. But there was a little bit of an undertone, maybe of like profiling or discriminating or racism maybe.
I took a selfie in front of the Coliseum and met this nice young engineer.
But it's much more blatant now, especially when people who are doing these kinds of content are yelling, go back to your country.
We're in Italy. We're in Europe. We are not in Africa. Get away from me. Get up. Yeah. And what? And what?
And Luton was voted England's least desirable town to live in. Now, coincidentally, the majority of the people that live here are also of foreign descent.
Run, gypsy! Fora de Portugal! Go back to your country!
Especially when a lot of these scams are orchestrated by people that actually are like ethnically from that country. So when you're addressing these scammers or people who are doing bad things, yelling at them, go back to your country, calling them derogatory names or slurs, you could be like, oh, well, maybe they're doing a bad thing, so they deserve it, but you don't need to do it in that way, and it definitely feels like you're pushing another thing. Especially when the idea is that you're saying, oh wow, this doesn't feel like Paris anymore, because there is a bunch of people who don't look white.
Look at this, guys.
He's not Spanish. To one of the worst areas in Paris, in the city, Gare du Nord,
Which, as you can tell, looks like a Ghana du Nord. If you guys had to look at this, would you think this is France?
Or, oh wow, here are some people, they must be engineers and doctors, and you're saying that as a joke because they're not white. So that's where it kind of feels a little bit bad. Or you see kids and you're like, oh wow, what are these little hoodlums doing? And they're just not white.
I am terrified.
Engineers and doctors.
And where this is really problematic, and this is the main thing that motivated me to make this video, is the blatant misdirection and misrepresentation of reality using Photoshop in the thumbnails. A really big example of this that really caught my eye was this massive content creator named Oriental Pearl, and she was already called out for it, and rightfully so. I'm a little bit late to the party, but she was walking around some areas in Tokyo being like, wow, it's so dirty. Man, it's so dirty, this is so bad. And showing graffiti, which, to be honest, I went to Japan in 2024 after studying abroad in 2017, and I did notice there's a little bit more rubbish on the streets, but there's more people visiting because it's cherry blossom season, and after COVID there's more tourism, so it's a little bit simplistic to just say, oh, like, what is happening to Japan? What is happening in this country with all the people coming in?
Looking around, where do you think we are right now? I'll give you a second. This isn't London. It's not New York. This is actually Tokyo, Japan.
And she took a wall with graffiti and photoshopped more graffiti on it. So that's not reality. She's making it look worse. And of course, our favorite topic of the video, Kurt Kaz. He did this in the UK where he photoshopped a sign to be written in Arabic instead of English. And someone just looking at him, he like photoshopped some clothing that's like covering his face to make him look like intimidating coming towards Kurt. So you can tell from this thumbnail Photoshop that there's at least an agenda that they're trying to push, or that their audience believes, or that they feel like will get lots of views that can be damaging to society and spread things like hate and xenophobia or anti-immigration sentiments. This is my understanding of how we've reached this point, specifically with travel content in 2025. And I think it's of course worth mentioning that algorithms are a big factor because people will only have one view of reality based on the content and media that they're shown. And a lot of times this is based on not what will give them the best, most holistic view of a thing, but what will keep them using the platform longer. So that will make you excited. That can be things that make you angry. And also farming engagement is massive. And this is also about living in the era of Ragebait. That's a massive reason why content is the way that it is today. Ragebait is the name of the game. I've inadvertently experienced it being a content creator if I've said something, not trying to induce anger, but that might be a little controversial or people might agree with. I get lots of comments and that can easily build more engagement on my videos and get more views for certain things. I do believe that there are content creators that are leaning into this Ragebait kind of thing, especially if you look at, there's a whole like genre of content where the whole idea is just kind of crapping on India, making it seem like it's worse than people might believe, whether it's to talk about noise or hygiene or people being like ripped off or just like dirtiness. And people will overly like show and focus on certain areas that show this because they know this will get more of a reaction and more views. And they'll title it like India sucks, don't come here, or I visited the most polluted country in the world and you never should, which fair enough. You can have your own like ideas and responses and critiques of a place, but I think there's an intentional view and understanding that this will get lots of rage bait. Lots of Indian people will comment really angry. Lots of people will be like, oh, I knew this. I'm never visiting this place. Wow, this place is terrible. This is why we shouldn't let them come to our country to ruin it and make it like this as well. And also, content creation, it's a business. You get paid for views. You get paid for the amount of eyeballs and clicks you get. So if you're gonna be aware of these algorithms, these like funnels and similar content that people want to consume, or their audience out there that is like thirsty to see content that is like addressing certain narratives or ideologies, or like showing certain negative things about society or other people or people in the world. And it's a business that is fleeting. It's a business that you might not be able to do for that long. And you feel like you need to capitalize on it when you can, if you're not going to be making consistent money like 10, 20 years from now making videos. So there's a really big incentive for creators to make content that they know will make people angry, will get lots of engagement, or will already have an audience of people who are thirsty for this kind of content. My feelings about the state of things is that I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised, because I am not just a travel content creator, but I'm a member of the travel community, and I'm a fan of travel content in general, like massively, because I think it's so much fun to watch people who make travel content that are brave, that are daring, who are charismatic, who are able to interact with people and have really unique experiences, maybe go deeper off the beaten path into some communities or towns that most people will never visit, and they have no ideas about these countries, or they have their own preconceived notions, and you can see like what's supposed to be an honest or unbiased like view and experience that you might not see from traditional media. I think a main trend for travel content a few years ago was, wow, this place is amazing. Wow, I went to maybe Malaysia. I can't believe how beautiful it is. Or I went to Japan. They're living in 2050. Or now it's China. Wow, I went to China. This is so much different than what the media told me. And it's more to be positive and show like a sense of wow and awe and like amazement while visiting these places. And that's really cool. I do think that it was overdone. I do think sometimes people lean into it too much because they think that it's going to get more views, and they're trying to only focus on the positive because people from that country will start to like praise them and be happy that they enjoy their time visiting their country, and they'll maybe get some more fans or viewers from those different regions. So while this content was praising countries and places, now it's more of the opposite, where it's let's critique countries and places in comparison to this great place. And while we're focusing on those countries and places that we're critiquing, we're going to look to answer why they're so bad, and the politicization is seeped into that. Talking about things like immigration and all those other topics. I do believe that you can criticize other cultures or countries, especially if you're just saying something that happened to you or your own experience when traveling somewhere. But you as the audience should be aware of these things. You as the audience should know that this one creator's experience, who maybe you think is charismatic or you think is trustworthy or you think they're showing you something that traditional media won't show you, maybe they have their own biases, maybe they're looking for certain engagement or rage bait, or that at least their own experience, it's not representative of a whole city or country or group of people or culture or race of people. That being said, the purpose of this video isn't to convince these creators or maybe you as the audience about topics like immigration or what you should think or things like progressivism or wokeism or like the West is dead or like the need to go back to traditional values. It's just to kind of say my own interpretation of why I think things are the way they are, why you should be cautious, other incentives that these travel content creators have, and they know what is working in today's society algorithmically, and most importantly, the blatant misrepresentation or falsifying of reality with things like thumbnails to get more attraction and attention and views and to paint narratives. I love travel and I love travel content, so I hope we move away from the state of things in the future. Also, this is very different than the normal content that I like to make about like travel guides or vlogs or experiences or helping you plan your best trip, but I do feel like I wanted to say something. As someone that loves to travel and that I'm a part of the travel community and I'm an avid travel content fan myself. Just as I started the video, I will end the video with a quote. Fascism is cured by reading and racism is cured by traveling. So although these content creators are traveling a lot, maybe they should do a little bit more reading about history and see why maybe certain things are not great ideas and why they've been tried in the past and led to really terrible things.